innovations. So as investors, Ignite House of Innovations buys growth and sells growth. They invest in startups and innovators and partner with the country's richest families and corporations to co-invest financial, strategic, and above all, human capital. All Ignite is to power growth, and the kind of growth that defies quarterly financials and sustain relevance and market leadership for generations. So thank you, Ignite House of Innovations. So I hope everyone is doing good and safe. I am sure this is a critical time for our HRs and operation team. That's why we're here to give you practical advice to help lead your companies. So by the way, we are on live on Facebook. Kindly visit our Sprout Facebook page and please invite your friends to watch to help them as well in leading their companies. Okay. So I know everyone is excited to listen to our topic for today, but just to give you a brief introduction to who we are. So Sprout is an HR technology company that helps companies to take it to the next level in terms of taking care of people. We provide systems, all in a cloud-based system to enable work from home, and now we hope to able to help lift up your team in these trying times. Okay. So while waiting for everyone to tune in, I am very excited to announce that we will have a raffle for today. So I know you will ask how you can win. So here's the mechanics. So you can see it in your screen. All right, so I'll read it for you guys. So first, collect all the 3 keywords that will be flashed throughout the webinar. So please tune in until the end of this webinar to collect all those keywords. So follow our Facebook page, so Sprout Solutions PH. Third is to comment all the 3 keywords in our pin post. And fourth is we will announce the winner at the end of this webinar. So we will be collating the winner at the end of this webinar. So please tune in and we will give you gift certificates at the end. So we will give you a gift from Sprout Solutions. So for those who will win, we will give you gift certificates. Okay. All right, so please tune in until the end of this webinar as we will have a fireside session later. But before that, let me read first the first raffle keyword. So our first raffle keyword is evaluate. So please take down notes. Our first raffle keyword is evaluate. Okay. So like what I've said earlier, we will have a fireside chat session later. Please prepare your questions and ask us anything on your mind with regards to matters concerning our topic for today, which is reevaluating company policies and regulations during the COVID-19. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker. So she started her career in an HR long after flying stint with Etihad Airways. She then moved to Union Bank handling talent onboarding for executive level down to frontliners and spearheaded the bank's overall CSR called Go Beyond Communities. Currently, she is the co-founder and managing director of Ignite House of Innovation, where she heads strategic partnerships between business, innovation, and people. She also believes that in order to build policies that are effective, in order to set the optimal standard for the new normal, one must go on a restart. So let's welcome our first speaker, Ms. Grace Kagahastian. So welcome, Ms. Grace. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Sprout Solutions. Thank you, Christine, for that wonderful intro. For those of you watching or listening at home or in your office, I hope that everybody is safe and sound. I will be discussing how to reevaluate company policies and regulations during COVID-19. And my goal for today is not to bore you, so I prepared a mnemonic for that, and it's called Restart. I promise to give you something that is highly relevant and actionable. Why restart? Because of COVID-19, everything has changed. It seems so dark and gloomy outside, right? And now, more than ever, our companies require new policies, new protocols, new operating systems that will shape the new environments for our new normal. So the question is, how do we really restart people, teams, and organizations through the power of the policies that we're making? So at the end of the session, I hope that we will all be better policymakers and meaning makers to create an impact to the society that we live in. But where do we really start? After having gone through the lockdown from ECQ to now GCQ, if you're still reorganizing your people, reassessing your cash flows, or redefining your policies, that's okay. It means that you are on the right track. To restart, we need to do all the re before we start. And it includes writing policies nowadays, and it could be very tricky because we are living in such a volatile world. Next week it's going to be another MGCQ, right? And we don't know what that looks like. But 2020 is really about surviving. So how do we adapt to rapid change? How do we prepare, equip, and empower our people so that we can win this fight? Business owners and HR professionals are catalysts of change, and a well-written policy is our weapon to thrive in the next 30 days or even 100 more. So where do we start? We actually start with people. So if you can see the QR code, please do scan your camera. And I'd like to know your thoughts about where would you rather be working during this time. So this is a live session. You can actually put your answers and click your answers. Would you rather be at home, in the office, or both? Or would you rather be working home for good? Okay. All right, we have 3 people answering that already. Right, some of you have answered at home or in the office. Okay. All right, so 10 people have answered already. I'm gonna give it another 30 seconds. All right. Cool. Some of you have answered both. Okay, both is still increasing. Okay, great. Okay, it seems like more people are answering this question. Yeah. Okay, I think I've made the decision, and everyone also have made their decision. Okay, but it's still changing. Okay. Yeah, okay. At home or both? All right, I've made a decision. 43% of you have decided to work at home. Okay, so thank you so much for participating. This is one of the best examples of how we can invite and involve our people into the decision making and into the policy making that we will be implementing. So we can do surveys like this. We can also do focus group discussions so that we can get to know our employees better. What are they going through? How are they feeling? Or what are their thoughts and ideas? So these are data that we can collect, and we can actually assess the qualitative and the quantitative data, and we can use this data um, as a vital information so that we can make our decisions and rules and regulations in the company better. So because we are human, we actually react to situations that are thrown at us. And by default, we panic. So before we implement and act on our policies, we have to slow down, take a step back so that we can ask the right questions and shift our mindsets from panic to purpose. I like what my former boss said in one of her talks and in one of the articles that came out recently. She is the chief HR officer of Union Bank, and her name is Michelle Rubio. And I quote her: "We have proven that we can run operations remotely, so we are not in a hurry." End of quote. There's a gem in what she said. And because when you have come prepared in the battle, you'll be confident with the decisions and actions that you will make. In Ignite, there's something that's called GPS, and we incorporate this in everything that we do: genius, purpose, service. So, genius are actually your gifts and talents, and it points out to your purpose. Now, who is the who is who are the people that I want to serve? So genius, purpose, and service. And and right now, who are the stakeholders that we need to serve? So if we are creating policies, we actually have to think about them and their welfare. And we have to think about the realities that they live in so that we can make the right decisions, and we can also uh, create better policies and make meaning in their lives. Although it is true that we do not have a playbook as to what policies to write, and we wouldn't be sure how effective the results would be, I would say the two most critical variables or factors that we have to redefine are wellness and wholeness. So, this is a perfect correlation that physical health and mental health will result in individuals' peak performance. And if your company is liquid enough to invest in activities for both, your company will not only thrive, but thrive and grow. Let's take a look at the best practices all over the world that they have implemented. Of course, aside from the usual PPE protocols, there has been work arrangements like a 4-day work week, which is very popular. Work between 8 to 10 hours a day with Fridays off. And for those people who are going back to the office, leaders are the ones who return to work so that they can make sure that everything is in place. The new setup reduces anxiety in people whenever they still have 100% pay and non-diminution of benefits. Of course, not compromising the results or the deliverables and the outputs for the company. Aside from that, on-site COVID-19 antibody testing has been very popular as well. If the company has the budget for it, of course, this is important. Um, it is required to actually test your employees and just leave it to the expert. There's actually one testing body who do this well, and it's called Xenia. So Xenia Health can give the results within 15 minutes. So if you want to know more about that, you can go to their website. It's Xenia with a double N.com, and you will get to learn more about it. Aside from the body testing, more corporations are providing transportation for their people, and some have innovated and converted their space from an office space to sleeping bunks. Also, my favorite would be a team day. In the States, there's a company that's called Thrive Global. And what they did is that the leader actually wrote to their employees and he said, I'm so tired. Can we take a break and can we take a rest day? So all of you can watch movies. We can order food delivery for free and it's on me. So that was such a great surprise. Another best example there as to how you can surprise your employees would be just like how Kumu did it. Kumu is a video live streaming app, and their HR um, visited their live streamers and their employees, and they surprised them with Kumu merchandise. So they gave them mugs, and then they gave them grocery bags. And you can see in the people's eyes how much they appreciate it and how much they value the efforts of the HR department. So nowadays, it's really about how we do or not do and how we want to be remembered by our employees. Most importantly, if we have a tower control that's already set up in place, that's really, really good. It's important that in the office, for example, if what if somebody gets sick and what if he's having a 38-degree Celsius fever and nobody knows what to do. So at this point, everybody should be more responsible. And what if we should hire a chief happiness officer or a chief emergency officer? These are things that are really important that we have to set in place. While these policies are currently changing, we need to have values and soft skills to manage our people. So, how do we work harmoniously given that our locations are challenging us from truly communicating with each other? Because miscommunication happens, we get misinterpreted a lot of times, and it doesn't only apply to us workers or colleagues, but also to our customers. So, for example, you're trying to implement a policy and a rule, and your partners have conflicting ideas. How are you going to manage this? First, you have to connect, be present, be able to have a listening ears. You don't necessarily have to agree with what they're saying or agree with their suggestions all the time, but at least when you give feedback, give it with radical candor. In fact, the writer of this book, this Radical Candor book, is Kim Scott, and she said that we can make our point to anyone, but we can still have a healthy engagement or debate as long as it's done with dignity, clarity, being careful with the words that are coming out of our mouth, and most especially being compassion. So, what is the difference of empathy and compassion? Empathy is being in someone else's shoes, while compassion is translating empathy into action. Words and intent are nothing without action, as you can see in the screen. It's like saying I love you, but saying I love you without action or without even showing that you love the person, these are just empty words, right? And these are meaningless, right? So we have to strike a healthy balance between the words that are coming out and the things that we do. Also, we have to remember to have healthy boundaries. Smile when you talk to your colleagues, and just have fun every time. And it's not always about work. It's also important to engage and enjoy the conversations that you're in. So these are the last few letters in my mnemonic, which is ART, but the T comes in my next slide. And restarting an organization is like an art. It's an expression of creativity in so many ways. Until we discover a vaccine, we have to be ready to work in front of our laptops doing meetings at Zoom, and it could be boring sometimes, right? It might take another 18 months or so, according to experts, before we return back to normal, or it might be 5 years or even more. So, because of that, our technical skills or our tech skills will matter tremendously aside from having the soft skills that we have. What are the capabilities as individuals do we have and as a team so that we can move our company forward? So first, we have to prioritize personal growth. We have to discern all the time, am I still growing as a person? What isn't in me that is most alive in me that I want to share to the world? This is the best time that we can take advantage of the free online courses out there and just just really learning every day. And some people might say, I'd rather watch Netflix or I'd rather just rest. That's fine. That's actually having balance. But in order for us to achieve our highest potential, we have to do something that will increase and advance our learning. On the other hand, how do we grow together as a company? How do we become a learning organization despite the distance? Do we need to outsource tools that will help us restart our organization? Right now, the best thing to do is just to really innovate and to think about new ways of how to do things. What are the products or solutions that can be brought out to market? Where are the zones of opportunities in my own business or in our business? In terms of how fast can we sprint? Can we really do it? Can we launch something in a span of 5 days? Actually, that's possible. We just need to really have the tools and we need to learn how to collaborate internally in our office as well as externally for other organizations that we can engage with. We can't stop growing and just continue on with life. The truth of the matter is we can't stop growing. We just have to continuously learn. And aside from creating a trusting culture or a learning culture for that matter, these are the things that we can say that we leave no one behind. So this is the last letter in my mnemonic. I like this quote from Charles Darwin, and it says, "It's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one most responsive to change." It is very applicable nowadays because it's it's really it's it's really like that, because if we want to change, it begins with ourselves. And learning how to adapt to change is also a skill. These are three things that I would like to leave as my quarantine takeaways. It's the first one is called Me Incorporated, and it's like thinking that you are your own brand because you have a business owner mindset and you think and act like a startup. This one creates accountability for the things that you do. And when you learn how to experiment and not be afraid of making mistakes, and thinking that even if I'm just an employee or I'm an employee of an organization, I can make a difference. I will focus on the things that I can control and delete the old ways of doing things. And when I empower myself, I actually empower others. Because of that, I can also be excited for my transformation. The second one is about fluency and frequency. this is something that we really practice in Ignite as an organization. We say this, for example, Michael Jordan being the greatest of all time, he did not become great in one day or just by reading basketball in a book or just listening to podcasts. No, he became great because he kept practicing and he kept just throwing out the ball, making mistakes, and just really, really doing it better every day. So, so there's value into really putting frequency, and then you become fluent in whatever it is that you want to do. Lastly, fall in love with a problem. We also practice this a lot. And falling in love with a problem is like really being obsessed about the problem, not the solution, but the problem. Asking questions about what is it in the problem that I need to discover more and I need to understand. It's really about understanding the problem deeply in all angles because you care enough to make things better and that you don't stop until you get it. So, leaders, let's challenge ourselves to make policies with intention and attention. And for those of you fellow Filipinos who are tirelessly working, if you're listening right now, either at home or in the office, let's continue to adapt to the change and just go with the flow and be safe all the time. So if you want to get in touch, here are my contact details. We do have a restart solution for those of you who are interested. I'd love to have a chat with you. Yeah, thank you so much, Sprout Solutions, for giving me this opportunity, and see you later.
All right. So thank you for that very informative talk, Ms. Grace. I hope everyone listened attentively and took down notes as she mentioned a lot of information that could help our operations during this pandemic. Okay. So I would like to announce the second raffle keyword. So for our second raffle keyword, this is redefine. So for the second raffle keyword, please note this is redefine. Okay, so that you'll get to know more about who we are at Sprout, please watch this short video before we move on to the fireside chat portion of the event.
Hey, Paolo. Good to see you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, come in. Welcome to Sprout.
Tell us a little about Sprout.
We fix HR and payroll in the Philippines. We have a software platform. Companies use us to streamline time and attendance, HR, payroll, even recruitment these days.
Where did Sprout come from?
Well, I grew up on a farm, so plants are kind of in the background.
Okay.
Yeah.
So show us around, please.
Yeah, sure. So this is our sitting area first when we are entertaining guests. This is the P from our logo. My co-founder and I are quite hands-on, so we actually spent a lot of time kind of ideating and figuring out how the office should be. So yeah, that's how it got to where it is. This is Sprout's North Star. So this is kind of the fundamental vision of the company. We really want to impact the lives of every Filipino by improving business in the Philippines. So that's our mission and our vision and the whole package.
Okay, so hope you enjoyed the video and you learn more about Sprout. So now I would like to announce the third raffle keyword, which is restart. Okay, so to recap, the three keywords are evaluate, redefine, and restart. So join the raffle by following our Sprout Facebook page and comment these 3 keywords on the pin post for a chance to win a gift certificate. All right, so now let's proceed to our fireside chat session. Please prepare your questions and type them in our chat box. So I would like to welcome back our first speaker, Ms. Grace. And to help answer our questions, let's welcome our second panelist, Lester Nazarene Ople. So he leads Sprout Legal Counsel and Public Sector Engagement. For our third panelist, she has more than 5 years of experience in human resources, overseeing recruitment, employee relations, and performance management in Sprout Solutions. Let's welcome Ms. Shang Trinidad. And lastly, our fourth panelist, she is part of the Health and Safety Committee and Sprout Administrative Lead. Please welcome Ms. Dinky Valerio. So welcome panelists, and ladies and gentlemen, we are now opening the floor for your questions, and please type in the Zoom chat box below. Okay, so we have one question already. What are the common company policies today that may not be applicable before COVID? Panelist?
Hi, good morning. Good morning, Grace. Good morning, Tin, and good morning, of course, to Shang, Dinky, and to our webinar attendees. I'd like to take a question first, and then maybe Grace and Shang and Dinky would have some additional insights. So for the definitely the first one that most companies would migrate away from would be your timekeeping. No? In a work from home setup, some of the companies normally require biometric login, log out, and moving to a work from home setup eliminates the accessibility of employees to that biometric device. And this would be an instance that you either decide to move away from a timekeeping based payroll, or in the case of our employees in Sprout who are using the Sprout HR platform, you can use we call this a mobile device login or the web bundy. So it depends on the nature of the organization. Some organizations that are sales or field operations may not necessarily require some timekeeping policies to be applied to their work from home setup. But in the case of companies like Sprout, because we have access to Sprout HR, we moved to a biometric. Sorry, why do I keep saying biometric? We moved to a mobile app and a web bundy. No? So that would be the first one, and second would be, of course, your occupational safety and health policies. There would be some companies who have strict company policies on not having water containers or cups or mugs near the workstation, or there's a no eating policy in front of the laptop. In a work from home setup, that definitely will no longer be applicable. But I'd like to also say that some other workplace policies that have to be reminded, that our employees have to be reminded on ensuring the application of would be cybersecurity policies. So regardless kung work from home setup or remote work or working in the office, especially in light of the weekend reports that there have been various Facebook dummy accounts, it makes sense to remind our employees that regardless of the setup, cybersecurity is non-negotiable. Okay, that's it. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, so thank you for that wonderful answer, Attorney Lester. So maybe some of our panelists wants to add on that.
Yeah, thanks, Attorney Lester. I actually want to add on what you said, but this is more focused on the timing. What time before do we actually have lunch? And usually it's around 11:30 to 1 or 12 to 1, right? But now employees who are working in the office have different timings for breaks and lunch. And that's quite sad because you no longer get to engage or talk closely with your colleagues. But that is something really important for us to adhere to. social distancing, right? It might sound cliche, but even for lunch breaks, we still have to follow those. That's it for me.
Okay, so thank you, Miss Grace. So we receive another question. All that was discussed by Miss Grace are good to companies wherein there is even reasonable support from the management. What can you advise to those who are struggling to have something, even the simplest guidelines or policies in place when there is no or selective support from the management to HR?
To me, it sounds as if there is a lack of support from management regarding the implementation of policies, no? And I'd like to share that uh, the Supreme Court in the Philippine Airlines versus Philippine Airlines Employee Association case, the Supreme Court harped upon the concept called co-determination, which is a concept in labor law that HR policies or workplace policies are actually crafted by both management and the employees with the end in mind that there would be it's a better productivity, more efficient workplace, and overall employment experience is positive. No, so it's a very old case, and one thing that you can initiate here would be something like if you're an employee and you feel that there's a lack of support, you can initiate proposing that management adopt certain policies or practices. At the very least, if you are not able to have them adopted, you would have started a discussion about how you can go about in implementing a new policy, and definitely that's better than just not doing anything or worse, um, acknowledging it as a rant only and not taking any positive action about it.
Hi, so I'd like to add on what Attorney Lester mentioned. If you're an employee, maybe like refrain from ranting in social media and make sure that what you're feeling or what you're thinking is communicated to management. And at the same time, if you're in the management position or maybe also in human resources, what we do in Sprout is to be able to get the feel of what our employees are going through right now. We usually send out pulse surveys just to know how they're feeling or what support they need from HR, from their leaders, and then maybe from there we can do action plans about it.
All right, so thank you, Attorney Lester and Miss Shang, for that answer. You want to add on that, Miss Grace and Miss Dinky?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, for whoever who asked that, if you feel that there's lack of support from the management, probably we don't have to always think badly about their intentions. Why didn't he approve my request, or why was my proposal declined? Maybe we have to also reassess our proposal. We have to now think of how can I improve my proposal through the data that I can back up with. How can I do better research as to really kumbaga parang meron ka kasing pinaglalaban. So for you to be able to get the buy-in of your leader of the management, it really has to have a strong grounding. So I hope we can also be better at that.
For my add-on lang, no, like for the Sprout solution, since nag-start up kami last year, so every employee in the Sprout, in-encourage namin to have initiative or like open forum na masuggest nila kung ano yung mga decisions or suggestions na gusto na lang mangyari sa policy. So, like for example, in this trying COVID na experience natin, so like we have a new policy which is like pandemic plan for 2020. So, before namin siya magawa, we have open forum or like we have comment from the other employees kung ano yung mga gusto nila and ano yung mga pwede nila ma-improve for the company. So, yan.
All right. So thank you for that inputs, Miss Grace and Miss Tinky. So again, we are in our fireside chat session. Feel free to type in your questions regarding our topic, which is reevaluating company policies and regulations during COVID-19. So just type it in our chat box below that you can see here in our Zoom chat. So another question, how much room for adjustment can we give employees as they adapt to differing circumstances of work brought by unexpected changes? Panelists?
I'd like to begin answering a question. I'll take off my legal hat and I'll revert to my HR business partner mode. No, um, the COVID pandemic has resulted in so much disruptive innovation from all sectors of society. Government offices have moved to online platforms, vendors have moved to online contactless payments, and everyone suddenly is able to deliver work from home or from wherever they are. And there are so many changes, so much anxiety that everyone is dealing with right now, and the best uh, way for us to be able to adapt to it is both intrinsic and extrinsic. If you're an employee, take stock of your mental health. Make sure that you are in a good position to be able to respond to the demands of your work, to the demands of your stakeholders, and of course, you're also managing, especially in the case of employees who are working from home and they have school-age children who are now suddenly at home, no, and not in school. Make sure that you're in a good place to be able to commit to your responsibilities, deliver the expected output, etc. Because stretching your brain too much causes a lot of fatigue, and that translates into a weakened immune system, and the weakened immune system compromises your overall health, especially in the light of COVID being still in out there, no, in the streets. Second, from an organizational standpoint, maybe let's do more to understand what our employees, our stakeholders are going through. Um, how that is operationalized, however, would be dependent on the organization's own culture, the personalities of the people inside it. So at the very least, number one would be take care of yourself, and then number two, take care of others. Napaka what I learned in kindergarten, but I think given the current situation, that's the best we all can do.
Thank you for that answer, Attorney Lester. So anyone from our panelists wants to add on that?
Yeah, I like the question because how do we really adapt, and what or how long should we wait until our people adapt to the changes? There is a 21/90 rule, which is it builds 21 days to create a habit and 90 days to build or to create a lifestyle. So I think that's very applicable as to really understanding people. It's human nature for us to to it's human nature for us to wait and go with the flow and go through the journey and the experience of having to go through the changes. So next week is another MGCQ, and we don't know what's gonna happen. So if we have set policies already from last week or from the last month, we have to be flexible enough and understanding if our people are still adjusting and if our people are quite emotional with the change that's happening. So that's it.
All right. So thank you for that, Miss Grace. So, hi, no question here, but I really appreciate Sprout for having this free webinar. So, on behalf of Sprout, it's our pleasure to help companies in these trying times, and thank you for your continuous support and participating our webinars. Another question, since most of us in a work from home arrangement, how would HR proceed with the admin hearing and all if an employee violated a certain policy? Is NTE and final decision sent through email enough?
I think that would be that question is actually discussed in another webinar. We had another webinar talking about employee disciplinary processes in light of the COVID pandemic, but it's available on sprout.ph/COVID. I don't remember the episode name, but it talks about employee discipline. Okay, so just very briefly, the requirements of due process in employee disciplinary cases are it's a twin notice rule. So the first thing that the company must do would be to issue a written notice directed to the employee explaining the circumstances or the allegations of misconduct or violation of relevant company policy. And second, directing the employee to explain in writing within a period of 5 days from the date of receipt of the notice as to why the employee must not be disciplined. Second would be you go back to your policy, to your disciplinary policy. If a hearing is required for that particular case, you conduct the hearing. And then third would be after the hearing has been conducted, after all of the evidence has been evaluated, the organization must now determine the actual penalty that will be imposed on the erring employee. If it's termination, then the notice must be sent to the employee's last registered address, and that particular notice must explain clearly the nature of the evidence presented or evaluated by the company, as well as the grounds that justify the conclusion that he or she must be dismissed from employment. In light of the COVID pandemic, we have, if your company has moved online, the first question there would be, can your system actually track the sending of these notices? If you're on a system that allows return receipts, you have to enable that. If your email system is not able to do that, then you revert to the regular rule, which is registered mail, or it's actually registered mail. And then your hearing would be allowed naman yung Zoom. Hindi naman kasi required in employee disciplinary cases yung courtroom style hearing. What is required really is that there is a reasonable opportunity for the employee to explain himself or herself. Okay, so in a nutshell, you comply with the twin notice rule as stated in the case King of Kings Transport Incorporated versus Mamac. So written notice either via email na may return receipt. Kung hindi kaya ng email system nyo, you go through the post office, registered mail with a return card. Just one note before I close that answer. The Department of Labor has actually requested all of our employers to refrain from terminating employment during this period because of the nature of there's so much uncertainty, so much unemployment that the government is managing. So not adding to that burden of society and of the government would be much appreciated. But that does not mean that employers are no longer allowed to terminate because of non-regularization or misconduct. What would be best, however, is exercising compassion, and creativity. Kasi if it's a performance issue and the employee did not cause you to lose so much resources or did not put the company in a lot of legal risk, then why will you opt to terminate if it can be addressed by a performance discussion? Okay, that's it. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so thank you for that input, Attorney Lester. So I think the question is very legal, no? Nasa legal side talaga siya. But other panelists wants to add ba on that one? Okay, so if none, let's proceed to our next question. So beside crises such as COVID-19, what are other instances that you need to develop your regulations and adopt?
I'll take a question. No? So the COVID-19 is I remember when I was with IBM, we that was as early as 2007 or 2008. We were already discussing about the pandemic plan. And little did I know that I will experience that pandemic in my lifetime. Uh, but the COVID pandemic is actually one of what we call BCP scenarios or business continuity plan scenarios. If you remember, in January, Taal erupted. Um, we in the National Capital Region were not as badly affected, but if the businesses in the Southern Tagalog region or particularly in the Tagaytay area, definitely that would be affected. No, so the Department of Labor has issued Labor Advisory 1-2020, which provides for the instances when an employee may not be administratively sanctioned for not reporting to work due to dangerous work situations. So please refer to that as well. But there's so much uncertainty right now. I think it makes sense for a business to have a business continuity plan as well for civil and political unrest, for earthquake, for typhoons, and for the other ordinary circumstances where business is not allowed to operate in your locality or in your particular industry. I'd also like to emphasize that if you are an online business, you're using online payments or other portals, it might make sense to also make BCP for a cyber attack or a data privacy leak.
Thank you for that input, Attorney Lester. Anyone from our panelists wants to add on that question? Okay, so I think this is the end of our panel session. So thank you, Attorney Lester, Ms. Shang, Ms. Dinky, and Ms. Grace for your informative inputs to our for everyone's questions. So Ms. Grace, thank you for being our special guest for today. We would like to present you a certificate of appreciation and a token which we'll be giving after this webinar. So thank you again, Ms. Grace. And thank you as well to our event partner, Ignite House of Innovation. Again, as investors, Ignite House of Innovations buys growth and sells growth. They invest in startups and innovators and partner with the country's richest families and corporations to co-invest financial, strategic, and above all, human capital. All Ignite is to power growth, the kind of growth that defies quarterly financials and sustains relevance and market leadership for generation. So thank you, Ignite House of Innovation. And before we end our webinar, I would like to announce that you can still get all the HR help you need. So you can get free 30 days access to our HR and payroll system, Instacash and BCP experts advice, manage timekeeping and attendance process, payroll, apply for Instacash, completely done by the click of your fingers. So we help your company bounce back better with the Sprout Rescue Kit. So feel free to sign in. So feel free to message our Facebook or our marketing team on how to sign up. All right. So now for the moment we've been all waiting for, I would like to announce the 4 raffle winners. So the 4 raffle winners are Frederico Yu, Maria Rodora, Tobias Johansson, and Carlos Junel Valdez. So again, I'll repeat our winners for today: Frederico Yu, Maria Rodora, Tobias Johansson, and Carlos Junel Valdez. So congratulations to our raffle winners for today. So for the winners, please type in your email address in the Zoom chat box so that we can send you the GC codes through the email. So thank you everyone for participating. We can also send you e-certificates for attending the sessions, and here are the instructions on how to get them. So email info@sprout.ph and please indicate your name, your company, and your position. So for those who attend this webinar and wants to get a certificate, please email info@sprout.ph, indicate your name, company, and your position. And please follow all our social media pages and use hashtag OBWithSprout to be updated on our events. So see you again on our next webinar on Thursday. Thank you, everyone.